1992. I'm Mike Bennett, and we're about to see one of the best meetings in the individual Speedway calendar. A little while ago, I had a chat with the reigning British champion, Gary Havelock, and he seems to be in fairly confident mood today. But we have a host of star riders here.
Got a massive cardio around today, the sun is shining,
And altogether we should be for some great Speedway entertainment. Just to refresh your memory on the rules, it's 3 points for a win, 2 for a second, 1 for a third. Each rider gets 5 rides. And coming up first is that interview with Gary Havelock.
This year, obviously, there's the pressure of being the reigning champion and people expecting me to do it. But having said that, you know, if I don't do it today, it's not the end of the world because I already have won it. But having said that, I'll be going all out, giving it everything I've got. There's no way I want to give up the title.
Last year he won that title with a 15-point maximum. It's going to be a tough one today, but we'll find out exactly what happens when we see Havelock a little bit later on in the meeting. We prepare now for the start. It's heat number 1, and former British champion Kelvin Tatum. He rides in the red coloured helmet. He starts off from the inside. David Mullet in blue from Reading Races. He's off 2. Paul Thorpe in white off gate 3, and on the outside, Marvin Cox. And the first to show as we look at this packed Brandon Stadium today, it is Kelvin Tatum. He's a former Coventry rider, now rides, in fact, for Bradford, who have no less than 5 riders in today's lineup. Tatum is the early race leader, Marvin Cox, a former world finalist. He's in second place. Third is David Mullet. And a disappointing start for Paul Thorpe, who finds himself at the back. Thorpe, incidentally, has a reputation of scoring 10 points in these individual meetings, so we'll have to see if that happens. In the meantime, it's a very confident-looking Kelvin Tatum. He's got to watch out, though, the rider there in yellow and black, Marvin Cox, not
too far behind him. Brandon has a reputation for being a bit of a gators track. It's important to make the start here. And Tatum doing everything expected of him as we enter the last lap.
So it's still Tatum in front, second place, chasing hard as ever is Marvin Cox, Dave Mullet in third, and Paul Thorpe is going to be more than disappointed with his start to this 1992 British final, but it is Tatum who's set with the 3 points. So here's the first win of the afternoon. He'll be happy about it. Cox picks up 2 points, third, David Mullet on just 1 point. Just scoring as in conventional Speedway.
16 riders in the best field chasing 10 places for the next stage of the World Championship, and that is the Commonwealth Final,
which happens at King's Lynn in 2 weeks from today. Heat number 2, and riders to watch out for here. Obviously the man on the inside in red, that's Jeremy Doncaster. Joe Screen from the Bellevue Aces, he'll be in blue. Mark Loram, one of the young pretenders, just 21 years old, Loram, former National League Riders Champion. And many people tipping him for big honours in the sport. He's in white. And on the outside, another man who really is tipped to do extremely well today, Martin Dugard. Dugard, in fact, has been picked for the world's best pairs, so quite an honour for him. So watch for Dugard, watch too for Jeremy Doncaster. He's got the favoured inside gate position, and he lifts slightly. In fact, most of the riders lifting slightly. The rider in yellow and black, that is Martin Dugard from the Oxford Cheetahs. And Dugard has already raced here twice this season. He's had a couple of tennis misses.
Major surprise right away, Mark Loram from the Kings and Barham Stars. He is at the back. As we said before, vitally important to get out of the start. There is a fair amount of dirt on this Coventry track.
He just doesn't seem to have enough grip to pass.
Joe Screen, another rider tipped for great things.
Danger signs right away for Mark Loram. Loram was racing at Arena Essex on Friday night. He scored 17 points down there, picked up 10 for Kings Lynn last night, so he's in good form, but he'll be very disappointed with his start today. Not the case, though, for this man, Martin Dugard.
In number 3, and this could be a real tough one with former British champion Simon Wigg. He rides for the Bradford Keyline Dukes. And he's another rider who can go fairly well here. Sean Wilson, another Bradford boy, he's right, and Dean Barker in yellow and black. Barker, in fact, the only rider making his debut in today's British final. So Simon Wigg, not a bad start for him. He had machine problems just a few moments ago. He's jumped onto his second bike now. Doesn't seem to have bothered them. They're all gathering up there, and problems for the rider in yellow. That was Dean Barker. How on earth did he manage to stay on for that? So the action hotting up. As you can see, the rider in blue, Graham Jones, looking down at his bike. He's got all sorts of problems. So Sean Wilson says, thank you very much. We'll take full advantage of that. Simon Wigg, though, from the Bradford Keyline Dukes. He was a big money signing for them last year. Quite amazing that Wigg is still racing. He broke his neck in a long track. High-speed accident a couple of seasons ago. Many people thought he was fit.
And it is young Dean Barker on his debut here.
He just managed to qualify from the semi-final stage, of course. You can see Barker now. He's got the legs on Graham Jones, and Jones's power.
This to do anything.
Dean Barker set to snatch a third-place point. But there's no doubt about the winner. That's Simon Wigg. Wiggy, he's quite a character. He relies on confidence. He needs a good start. And today he's just had one. Will the British title be going with Simon Wigg today? 1 down and 4 to go for Wiggy. We'll just have to find out.
Bradford have no less than 5 riders in today's field, almost a third the whole lineup.
And that in itself is a record since the British League formats came in 1965. So you could say they're a fairly safe bet for getting at least 1 or 2 riders on the rostrum today. Heat number 4, only 4 riders yet to see, and Chris Louis is one of them. He's in red, he rides for Ipswich, and Louis scored 15 points in his World Championship semi-final on his own track. Alan Rossiter from the Kingsland Borum Stars carrying a very heavy in. He came Friday night at Arena, and he's got some chest injuries there. He's a brave boy still riding. In white is Andy Smith, a local lad, rides for Coventry now, and the reigning British champion on the outside in yellow and black, that is Gary Havelock. So we watch for him, and we watch too for Chris Louis. Interesting view of the start line.
Because Havelock means business today. Big crowd getting behind him now. Chris Louis third is Andy Smith, Foxy as his nickname. He is a wily character, Smith. A fair bit of experience in the British finals as well, and he normally is expected to do well and qualify for the next stage. He's going to want to pick up more than a 3rd place from his first ride, but it is Gary Havelock doing everything expected of the reigning British champion. He was a shock non-qualifier for last year's World Final. He sailed through this stage, obviously winning with a 15-point maximum, got through the Commonwealth, and then went out on the overseas final on his home track of Bradford. He'll be praying that there's no repeat of that, and he makes it through to the big World Final itself in Poland at the end of August. So it is Havelock, fairly untroubled here in heat number 4. Chris Louis sets for 2nd place, and a 3rd going to Andy Smith. Alan Rossiter clearly in some trouble. Boys in a lot of discomfort, and perhaps the bravest rider on show today. So the early race winners then, we had Tatum winning heat number 1, Dugard in 2, Wigg in 3, and there is Gary Havelock. And he doesn't really have much time to catch his breath because he's out again in the next race. That's heat number 5, which is coming up next. Just enough time to refuel, catch his breath, and come out and hopefully do it all over again. And you can see this massive crowd here. They've got the ideal weather conditions, and hopefully they should have some good racing as this meeting progresses. In number 5, Gary Havelock on the inside in red. Kelvin Tatum, his partner from Bradford, but there's no partnership out there today. He's in blue. Jeremy Doncaster in white, and also Bradford rider Sean Wilson in yellow and black. This is heat number 5. So Havelock didn't really make the best of starts. He came through from the back that time, but no problems here. And Sean Wilson switches from the outside down onto the inside line. And a battle there with his teammate Kelvin Tatum. So Tatum now moves through into 2nd. And we thought that these two would have a fair old scrap. Both of them winners of the first races. And it looks like Gary Havelock is determined to hold on to that title today.
Bit of a scrap going on for the minor placings. Sean Wilson holding out the efforts of Jeremy Doncaster. As for Gary Havelock, it's going to take a very good man to get the better of him today. So he leads it. Tatum chasing hard for second. Third is Sean Wilson. 3 Bradford riders out of the 4 in heat number 5. It really is quite incredible to think of the lineup that Bradford have got. And the Keelan Dukes having the first British team, the all British riders, for goodness knows how many years. But right now the British title looks as if it could stay at Bradford, with Gary Havelock very comfortable here.
In the 5th race of the afternoon.
And he picks up another 3 points. It puts him onto a total of 6
from his first ride. Second was Calvin Tatum.
and a third for Sean Wilson. So Jeremy Doncaster having a few problems. As for Havelock, 2 starts and 2 wins. You cannot improve on that. And a massive Bradford support on the first and second turn today. They really are in fine voice. And obviously, Havelock playing up to that. Heat number 6, Alan Rossiter. He desperately needs to get up there and score some points. He rides in red. Simon Wigg off gate number 2 in blue. David Mullet in white off 3. And Mark Lorem in
Yellow on the outside.
So for Roscoe, Mullet and Lorem, they all need to score some points. Simon Wigg's fairly comfortable because, of course, he had a win first time out. We wait for the tapes to rise, and it is once again Simon Wigg. And will it be Super Simon on the rostrum today? He looks in confident mood, so he's got it. Second place is Kings Lynn's Alan Rossiter. We watch as Mark Lorem comes roaring around the outside now. It is Lorem, and he's just about got the drop now on Rossiter. You can see Roscoe is far from fit. He's a former Coventry rider as well. He was still looking forward to riding here in the British final. As we say, a bit of a heavy man on Friday night at Arena. Spoiled his chances of doing well. Mark Lorem, you can see the way he lifts his right leg off.
The foot rest, he has got quite an unconventional racing style, this boy.
So while all the scrapping is going on for the minor placing, it's Simon Wigg, who is a very confident looking rider today. He leads. Lorem second and third. Teammate from Kings Lynn, Alan Rossiter. And here's a bit of a shocker. Dave Mullet is at the back, and we expected Mullet to do quite well today. So Simon Wigg having the Bradford fans doing plenty of cheering, because along with Gary Havelock, who took the points in the last race, he is up there on the leaderboard.
With 6 points from 2 starts. Let's not forget Calvin Tatum also sitting on 5 points, so as predicted perhaps.
A good afternoon for Bradford. The track preparation team here at Brandon this afternoon really do have the work cut out to try and keep the dust down. Obviously when it gets dusty it's very uncomfortable for supporters. We have such a good crowd here today, so they are working very hard for that. This one, see Graham Jones in the red colour helmet. He starts off from the inside. Chris Lee in blue off gate 2. Joe Screen in white off 3, and on the outside Paul Thorpe had his traditional slow start to the meeting in his first ride today. Concentration there as the tapes rise, and it's a fairly even getaway. In fact, you can see a bit of a problem. Down goes Paul Thorpe, and he hits that fence at quite a rate. So Thorpe is down. The ambulance team just going over to make sure he's okay. We can look at that again in replay. It looks from this camera position as if Graham Jones almost bangs into Chris Louis. Louis's got nowhere to go, and Thorpe, unfortunate for him, the meat in the sandwich there. Let's hope Thorpe is okay. He's got a bit of a headache. And you can see that's obviously a fair bit of concern for the rider. The referee's ruling on that is that all 4 riders come back in to the restart of heat number 7, which is obviously...
Thank you very much for the restart now. And Paul Thorpe comes out
to take his chances again in heat number 7. The referee's discretion, of course. He could have excluded one of the riders falling down, but normally when it happens that you have a fall on the first corner, 9 times out of 10 it's called an unsatisfactory start, and all 4 riders back. And that was the situation there in heat number 7. This time it is Graham Jones from the inside, but look for Chris Louis, and again Paul Thorpe being forced fairly wide. It is Louis, son of course of former England international world finalist John Tiger Louis, now a promoter at Ipswich. Many people expect Chris to follow in his father's footsteps. He really has made miraculous progress in just a few seasons of racing. In fact, Chris wasn't that interested in Speedway until he joined Hackney a few seasons back, and he is now one of England's real hopefuls for the future. So here leads it, Wolverhampton's Graham Jones in second. Paul Thorpe just coming around the outside there of Joe Screen. He's in third. And as for Screen, many people thought that he would be up there chasing for a rostrum. At the moment, he's going to be scrambling just to get through to the final 10. Not the case for
Chris Louis, looking very stylish here at Brandon today.
And a fair old contingent of Ipswich Connell-Twitches fans ready to cheer the boy on as he takes the checkered flag. So that was the 7th race, a good one for Chris Louis, and he's up there with the big boys as well.
On 5 points.
Louis had a fairly dramatic start to his British final last year. In his first ride, he ended up hitting the deck, as they say. Scored no points from that, came back and ended up Ostrom, so he'll be looking to go a little better on this year's performance. Heat number 8. After this one, all the riders will have had 2 rides apiece. We'll be able to check
Out the individual scores. Marvin Cox,
Martin Dugard, Dean Barker and Andy Smith. And it is Cocker from the inside, not a bad start at all, but look at the rider in blue. It is Martin Dugard. And Dugard's claim to fame when he was here a few weeks ago for the Rick Miller testimonial meeting, he did some bungee jumping, actually jumping off a crane on the first and second turn.
That's Andy Smith.
And a bit of a problem there as Martin Dugard just picked up some unwanted drive. Smith poised, ready to take advantage, and if Dugard makes another mistake, you can bet your bottom dollar that Smithy will be through there like a shot. Third place rider, incidentally, is Marvin Cox.
So the ride is fairly close in the 8th race of the afternoon,
But it is Martin Dugard. So as we enter the final lap, Dugard looking very assured this afternoon. Obviously the name of the game is qualification, but these boys, they know that the British title is perhaps one of the highest honours in Speedway. Certainly in this country, it's the only title to win outside the World Championship itself. So 8 races gone, all riders have had 2 rides apiece, and Martin Dugard, he'll be fairly happy with life as well as he goes up there
on the leaderboard,
unbeaten from his first 2 starts. All the Oxford fans cheer Martin Dugard. He says thank you very much, acknowledges them as he makes his way back to the pits. Have lots going well, so is Simon Wigg, but you must fancy your own chances of being up there with them.
That's right, it would be nice to sort of get on the roster and maybe win it, but Simon and Gary, they're going really well. Whoever has a good meeting day really deserves to win it. It's one of the hardest sort of rounds. It's sort of cut and thrust, so if somebody wins it, they deserve to win it, and that's just the way it goes.
The leaderboard there includes Martin Dugard. He is on 6 points, along with Simon Wigg and Gary Havelock. 5 apiece for Kelvin Tatum and Chris Louis. Marvin Cox, Andy Smith and Sean Wilson, all fairly safe at the moment.
They've got 3 points each, but struggling
are Jeremy Doncaster, Mark Lorimer and Graham Jones. They must score more points in the next round of races. They're on 2. British final of the World Speedway Championship from Brandon Stadium in Coventry. It's heat number 9 with Mark Lorimer in the red-coloured helmet from the inside, Andy Smith in blue, Kelvin Tatum in white,
and Graham Jones in yellow and black.
And it's Lorimer and Jones who desperately need to score points here. Tatum, he'll be fairly happy with the way things are going at the moment. Andy Smith, no complaints from him either. But Mark Lorimer and Graham Jones really struggling for points. They must do something in heat number 9. So as we look away, it's a good one for Foxy Smith. Graham Jones forced very wide. The Wolverhampton rider normally goes extremely well here at Coventry. He just can't seem to get up there amongst the points today. Don't tell that to Mark Lorimer though, as he gets forced fairly wide by Jones. Smith, the race leader, now rides for the Coventry Bees, so a little bit of home track knowledge for Foxy. Kelvin Tatum, of course, a former Coventry rider. He had a fairly productive time here.
Yeah, he helped Coventry Bees to win the league and cup
2 years in a row. He then moved up to Berwick last year. That didn't really work out too well. and he's been signing for Bradford this year. No problems for Smith, and he takes 3 valuable points. But 10 riders going through today, they reckon that the safe cut-off point for point scoring is maybe around about 8, 7 if you're feeling very lucky. So Andy Smith doesn't need to score too many more points to be guaranteed of his place in that Commonwealth final. And that's really what they're chasing today. So the Coventry fans obviously have something to cheer about there. Heat number 10, halfway stage in this meeting with Dean Barker on the inside. He's in red. Jeremy Doncaster in blue. Chris Louis, very impressive last time out. He's in white. And David Mullet, he could do with scoring some as well. He's only got 1 point for him.
At the start of Dean Barker.
Total concentration when the green light goes on. You can see the whites of their eyes. They really are fixed on those tapes. Getting out of the start, vitally important. And has it been a good one for Dean Barker? Not really. The rider in yellow and black, David Mullet. So somebody's obviously whispered in Mullet's ears that he needs some points. There's Chris Louis, and this is getting fairly close out here now. You always find in the British final, as the meeting goes on, the racing gets tighter. Obviously the desperation sets in as the points are so badly needed. And David Mullet keeping his World Championship hopes well and truly alive here. Dean Barker, the rider chasing for second. Chris Louis, who had a good race win last time out, he's in third. And Jeremy Doncaster, is he going to be one of the first big-name riders to go out of the 1992 British final? He is not on form at all.
You'll be quite happy with this one.
Dean Barker is doing his chances the world of good as well, picking up a couple of points here. Chris Lee doesn't have too much to worry about at this stage because, of course, he got that race win in his last ride. But the happiest man after 10 races, certainly the happiest man after that one, is David Mullet. So 3 points for him, 2 for Dean Barker, 1 for Chris Louis, and no points for Jeremy Doncaster. The donkey now, would you believe, has just 2 points from 3 starts. He has it all to do in the second half of this meeting. Paul Thorpe comes out to join us for heat number 11.
The full lineup will have Mark and Alan Rosser in yellow and black.
Roscoe complaining that he is in a fair amount of discomfort. In fact, this time, if he's going to be able to carry on, a lot depends on how he does here in the 11th race. He's only got 1 point to his name, and that's of course from 2 starts. So we watch out for
and watch out too for Paul Thorpe.
interesting view as the riders leave the tapes for the 11th race of the afternoon. And as predicted, perhaps that is Martin Dugard, but here comes Paul Thorpe. And Thorpe, he takes a couple of rides to wake up. Normally he's a bit of a laid-back character, but nothing laid back about his riding here as he goes storming around the outside of Martin Dugard. Third place is Sean Wilson. And Wilson, another one who is scrambling for points. You can see Rossiter is in trouble. He's at the back. He is far from happy. And disappointment for Roscoe and for the Kings Lynn fans here at Coventry today. But Paul Thorpe, there's a running joke in Speedway that if you give him a World Championship event, you can fill in 10 points for his individual total. He got to the World Final last year. He scored 10 points in that as well, which came as no surprise. His form so far this year, a little down, so he seems quite happy now. And obviously, he's walking up to the fact that he needs the points. And this 27-year-old from the Bradford Keyline Duke set for 3 valuable points from heat number 11. First defeat of the afternoon for Martin Dugard. And Alan Rossiter, his championship hopes of getting through to the Commonwealth final are pretty well gone now. 1 race to go before the of course. All the riders will have had 3 rides apiece, and it'll be a little bit easier to find out who's doing what. Rossiter waves to the Kings fans as if to say, I'm sorry, I've had enough for today. And that is a disappointing sight to see. So, heat number 12. Gary Havelock, the red British champion, and the man looking most
Likely to retain his crown at the moment.
he's in red from the inside. Marvin Cox. So good afternoon so far for Marvin. He's in blue. Simon Wigg, Havelock's teammate, and also an early leader of this meeting. He's in white off 3, and on the outside he must score some points now. That's Joe Screen. So Havelock we watch for, along with Simon Wigg, and down has gone the rider in yellow and black, Joe Screen. Yellow is not the helmet cover to wear today. The ambulance man are keeping fairly busy as well down in that corner. We can have a look at it from a different angle. So we watch to see what happens. The right in blue gives Simon Wigg a nudge, and he in turn has nowhere to go. Down goes Joe Screen. As he filters through the dust, we can see he is still down there now. Well, he's holding his shoulder, but thankfully able to walk away. There's Alan Ham from Bradford, with the co-promoters, Mark Lorham and Paul Thorpe out there to make sure he's okay. He's riding nothing of knocking lumps off each
Well,
other.
they're on the track, but they're always first to get around to make sure that the boys are okay if they have had a tumble.
The referee's ruling on heat number 12. It's another restart with all 4 riders. Havelock, Cox, Wigg and Screen try again. It's the final race in this round.
At times the rush start is looking fairly good for Gary Havelock. Let's see if he can repeat his start. As we've seen already, the riders off gates 3, 4 tend to drift out a little bit. And obviously even at this stage of the day, the dirt is moving wide, and if you want to do some overtaking, you have to get out there and pick up sufficient drive. That's an interesting view of Simon Wigg, who was fairly swiftly away, but once again it is the British champion Gary Havelock. Wigg down on the inside. These riders getting very close now. Marvin Cox moving through, and Joe Screen, who is desperate for points. There's a shocker for you. He goes outside of the unbeaten Simon Wigg. So Gary Havelock looking every inch the champion. He's got Marvin Cox in hot pursuit though. Joe Screen not too far behind them all in third. But who on earth can stop this man Havelock? He was in tremendous form in his World Championship semi-final. He also scored a 15-point maximum at Cradley Heath. Obviously sounding out a warning to the competitors here today, and he is in sensational form. Joe Screen now comes round the outside as he tries to get the legs on Marvin Cox. Cocker in turn is just holding on to second. But the real surprise now, Simon Wigg, 2 rides, 6 points, looking every inch a potential rostrum candidate. And now, in typical Wigg fashion, he throws it all away in his 3rd ride. So Gary Havelock, he's already done enough to qualify for the next stage of the World Championship. 9 points will be more than enough to get him through, so he can relax and enjoy his next 2 rides. Well, Jeremy, tough old meeting, and obviously problems for you not really getting up amongst the points so far today.
No, I had a problem with the starts all day, and should have dropped the clutch. I keep lifting rather quite a lot, so I don't know really what to do, but we'll try the 3rd bike now and give that a whirl, at least do a start on it anyway, and see if it's any better. And we're just doing some alterations to the other bike to see if we can just get it to pull a bit heavier off the start.
So important to make the gate today, especially now because the sun is really drying the track out.
That's right, it's so critical, you know. Especially in a meeting like today, you've got to be really electric off the sharp, and I feel my reactions are very quick, but we're just going upwards instead of forwards, which is giving us a bit of a problem.
The leaderboard looks like this, and the clear leader on top right now is Gary Havelock. He has 9 points. 2nd place, Martin Dugard on 8. Kelvin Tatum on 7, and a host of riders on 6. Simon Wigg, Chris Louis and Andy Smith. Marvin Cox on 5, Sean Wilson, Paul Thorpe and David Mullett on 4 points apiece. And they are the riders who seem fairly safe at the moment. The action continues with heat number 13 of this British final of the World Speedway Championship. Joe Screen rides in the red coloured helmet. He must score some points here. if not, to say goodbye to his World Championship hopes. Dean Barker will be in blue. The rider in white is Chris Clarence, and he's a reserve rider. His points really don't count. He's replacing Alan Rossiter. And on the outside, Kelvin Tatum on 7 points so far today, and Tatum obviously up there with a chance of getting onto the rostrum. Joe Screamer said he needed points. It was a win that he really wanted from heat number 13. However, Dean Barker also scrambling for qualification place. He's out front right now. Barker and Screen had a most horrendous journey behind the Iron Curtain last year for the World Under-21 Championship. That's a story that could take 3.5 hours just to tell. Suffice to say they didn't make it, and they're still talking about that dreadful journey to this very day. But there's no old pals act out there at the moment with Dean Barker, the rider who is in front. Second place, Joe Screen, and Kelvin Tatum. We've had a few surprises so far today, and the real shock is that Tatum is back there in third. So we enter the final lap. It looks indeed as if it's still going to be Dean Barker. Joe Screen trying absolutely everything. He's almost on his back wheel right now. Going to try a great big handful around the outside. Not enough drive, not enough time. And Dean Barker picks up the 3 points. You can but wonder if this is the end of the road for Joe Screen. He has 4 points. He must win his final race, have any hope of qualification. Well, the riders both coming round to the applause of the crowd. A reserve rider then in the red coloured helmet, again with the reserves. Basically the safest thing to do is to ignore their presence, which is very unfortunate, but they're there quite literally to make up the numbers. David Mullett, who should have been there, excluded for touching the tapes. Gary Havelock, Martin Dugard and Graham Jones, and it's Havelock, of course, still the only unbeaten rider in the field, and it looks as if it's going to stay that way. Graham Jones chasing for second. He's another rider. The scramble is on now for points. Martin Dugard shuts the door, and down goes Graham Jones. So Jones will be bitterly disappointed. His World Championship hopes have gone out the window now. And the reserve rider this afternoon is going to have the honour of scoring a point in the British final. And obviously, as we say, these points do not count towards the total of the day itself, purely to make up numbers. Gary Havelock, nothing making up numbers about his performance today. He's got Martin Dugard in second place. And Havelock, he's done all the hard work. He's already qualified for the Commonwealth final. And it looks indeed as if he is at least going to be up there on the rostrum today. If it stays like this, he'll be on 12 points for his efforts. He's got Martin Dugard, and Dugard is not 100 miles away. He only needs to make one mistake, which is rare for Havelock. Doesn't normally make mistakes when he's in front. And this is not the day for making mistakes either. He wins it. And 3 points puts him on to a total of 12. So if Havelock can maintain this form throughout the World Championship qualifying series, he's got 3 more meetings to go. The Commonwealth at King's Lynn. We just get a chance to look at this action again as Graham Jones goes down. And Jonah, looked like something actually came off his bike. Could have been a footrest. Which would explain the fact that he lost control there. Heat number 15, Andy Smith, Paul Thorpe, Simon Wigg and Jeremy Doncaster. With Wigg, the top point scorer here, the oldest rider in the field today, incidentally, and he won't thank me for saying that. But he's on 7 points, so he's fairly safe. A point or two here, and he'll be guaranteed his place in that Commonwealth final. Andy Smith, we must watch out for him as well. As the riders leave the start, it's Paul Thorpe. Obviously, he enjoyed getting up there amongst the points last time so much, he wants to do it again. So Thorpe it is in front. 2 riders now scrambling, battling, almost neck and neck together. Andy Smith holding the inside. Jeremy Doncaster, he's coming alive now, but is it all late for Donkey? Former Commonwealth champion and overseas champion, of course, as well. Took the Commonwealth title at King's Lynn, and if he makes it that far to King's Lynn, it'll take a brave man to bet against him, but on Donkey's day, he's a match for the best. Unfortunately, today is not that occasion. Paul Thorpe, comfortable cruise here in the 15th race of the afternoon. Andy Smith chasing half. Third is Doncaster, and it looks as if that's the way it'll stay with Simon Wigg. Again, this man is unbelievable. You almost thought you could guarantee his place on the rostrum, and for the second race running, Wigg is going to end up with no points. Flying the flag for the Bradford Keyline Dukes, so there was Paul Thorpe. All of a sudden, he gets himself right back into contention. 7 points from his 4 rides. Heat number 16. And all these riders could really do with a win here, although for Chris Louis, not so important. Sean Wilson red, Mark Lorham in blue, Marvin Cox in white, Chris Louis in yellow and black. So obviously we watch from the inside for Sean Wilson. It's a good one for Mark Lorham. The first gate he's made up. His brother-in-law, Chris Louis, coming around the outside now. You know, favours given out here is Louis.
Probably the toughest meeting I've ever ridden in my life.
Track went very slick early and it was very hard to pass. Trying to race and it's put me on 6. Hopefully if I get a couple of points in my next one I should be through.
Well, with 10 riders going through, the reckon to cut off 7, 8 to be safe. So as you say, a couple of points, you should be okay.
Yeah, well there's a lot of people still, there's about 7 riders still on 4, 5 and 6 points. You know, I think it's going to be lower qualifier today. I think 7 maybe will squeeze you through, but you know, I just got to try and do best.
Gary Havelock already through to the next stage, the leader on 12 points, unbeaten. Second place is Martin Dugard on 10, Chris Louis has 9, Kelvin Tatum and Andy Smith 8 apiece, Paul Thorpe 7, Simon Wigg, Marvin Cox and Dean Barker on 6, and Mark Lorham so far has that final qualification place, he's on 5. All the riders at the bottom end still looking for more points. Heat number 17 of this hard-fought British final from Brandon Stadium in Coventry brings out Kelvin Tatum, Martin Dugard, Chris Louis and Simon Wigg. Dugard on 10 points, he's got the best point score so far. All 4 of these riders in contention for a place in that Commonwealth final. It should be a good one, and it is Martin Dugard who was very cleanly away. Chris Louis around the outside. Simon Wigg is the only rider who really needs to score at least a point here to be guaranteed of his place. And his Bradford teammate Kelvin Tatum, who has got so much knowledge of Coventry track, he's holding him out at the moment. Well, the racing getting quite
Fast and furious. Now there goes Wigg, who's almost gone from last to second in the space of a lap.
just can't seem to get past Kelvin Tatum. So Tatum now moves into second. The race leader is still Martin Dugard, and the man at the back scoring no points is Chris Louis. Obviously not one for the faint-hearted here. Martin Dugard enhancing his chances of a rostrum place. He knows he's guaranteed at least that. And depending on what happens on the next few races, he could still end up winning this event. So it is Dugard from Tatum. Here comes Chris Louis around the outside as he tries to mount a challenge on Simon Wigg. We saw Louis do this against Mark Lorham, but he's left his challenge perhaps a little bit too late. It's going to be close on the line though. That finish, Simon Wigg just holds on for the third place, and that could be the point to take Wigg through to the next stage, that Commonwealth final. Martin Dugard, he finishes off. He's racing this afternoon on 13 points. So one of the clear pre-meeting favourites, living up to all the expectations today. Well, he ends up on 10, so we may be expecting him to do slightly better. This is a real scramble because 3 out of the 4 riders must get up there amongst the points. Sean Wilson, David Mullet and Joe Screen all on 4 apiece. Nothing less than a win for any of those riders. If they do anything else, then they can kiss goodbye to their chances of World Championship. The other rider, Andy Smith, he has 8. He can quite happily go out and watch the racing because he doesn't need to worry about points. That's not Smithy. So So we watch for him, and we wouldn't dare to tell you who to watch for because all three other riders will be desperately seeking these points. It is the rider in blue, Dave Mullett, who comes right outside of all of them. Andy Smith, he might have qualified, but he was double figures today, and it looks as if he's just about to do it. It's Smith in front, is David Mullett, Sean Wilson in third, and Joe Screen, a day to forget. So some of the big names in British Speedway kissing goodbye to the World Championship hopes here at Brandon this afternoon. Screen we felt sure would qualify. We thought Jeremy Doncaster would do okay. We weren't sure if he would be up there on the rostrum. But that's two of the big names that we've lost already. Although Joe Screen, he's certainly young enough. He's only 20 years of age. He's got plenty of years ahead of him. Disappointment for the Bellevue fans. Screen trying very hard to get round Bradford, Sean Wilson. And Wilson on his own mission, not enjoying the best of days here at Brandon either. As for Foxy, Andy Smith, he'll be happy with the way that this afternoon's meeting has gone for him. It puts him on double figures and possibly a place on the rostrum. So the Coventry fans here, out in force obviously this afternoon on their home track. They're happy with Andy Smith. So he takes 3 points. Second for David Mullett. Sean Wilson, his chances are gone, and Joe Screen, no score either. So the British champion appears here in heat number 19. He's unbeaten, 4 starts, 4 wins. That's a way to show you mean business. Paul Thorpe in red from the inside, Dean Barker in blue. He needs to score some as well. Gary Havelock in white, and Mark Loram also desperate for points in yellow and black. So we watch for Paul Thorpe. Technically speaking, he should do okay in this one. If he's to score his customary 10 points, he is the race leader. Gary Havelock, he's not even got his leathers dirty today. He's made some superb starts. He's in second now. Look at Mark Loram. Loram knows he must score at least 2 points in this one to keep his hopes alive. And now it's Loram who's chasing against Paul Thorpe. So Gary Havelock, he had the title pretty well sewn up. It was in the bag, but now we could have an additional race. If it stays like this, Havelock will score 13 points. Martin Dugard already has 13, so we could have some extra races for the money here at Brandon today. Not that Paul Thorpe could care less about that, because if it stays this way, it's going to put him on double figures. Mark Loram is going to make sure that he doesn't have it going his own way. As we enter the final lap, it's still Thorpe in front. Kings Lynn's Mark Loram chasing as hard as ever. He's waiting for a gap. Thorpe very quick. You can see he rides almost long track style. He is very fast when he gets in front, and it looks like he's set to hold on for heat number 19. But those 2 points could just be enough to see Mark Loram through. And the reason that Loram obviously would be more than keen to qualify is the Commonwealth final happens at his home track of Kings Lynn. Heat number 20, only 3 riders in the main part of the meeting. Chris Clarence, the meeting reserve, coming again instead of Alan Rossiter, who has had to withdraw because of those injuries. So a sad day for Roscoe. Jeremy Doncaster, he's pretty well out of contention on 3 points. The same goes for Graham Jones on 2. So Marvin Cox, 6 points so far. He's in yellow and black. He's a fairly fast starter. We watch for him on the outside for heat number 20. We know we've got at least 1 run-off today. And possibly once we get the calculators out, there could be 2 as well. The rider in white, Graham Jones, leaving his best gate of the afternoon far too late. It's Marvin Cox. He rides a pool. Made it to the World Final a few years ago. He kind of lost his way in Speedway. He then left Oxford to join Bradford, and that's given him a new lease of life. Now, as we say, he rides for Poole down in Dorset, enjoying himself down there. And he seems to be enjoying himself here in heat number 20 as well. They're bunching up a little bit at the back of the race. But for 2 of the riders in heat number 20, their World Championship dreams have gone for 1992. Graham Jones, who's just been recalled to the England side, and Jeremy Doncaster, one of the big names, as we said, to go out at this stage. So Marvin Cox will be more than happy to tie up the 3 points here. It puts him on to a very healthy total of 9 for his efforts, and that'll be more than enough to see him through to that Commonwealth final. So that's all 20 heats. We now know the majority of the qualifiers, but there's not 1 run-off, there are in fact 2 run-offs. We need to find out who is going to take the 10th qualification place. So that'll be a very interesting one, to say the least. And that'll be between Dave Mullett and Dean Barker. Mullett in red and Barker in white. One of these riders will go through to the next stage, the Commonwealth final. For the other one, he'll go through as meeting reserve. And that's no bad thing, because a few years ago, Troy Butler was reserved for World Championship events 3 times, and he made it every time. And he made it all through to the World Final. So it's important, obviously, for both these riders, but the race leader right now is David Mullet. He rides for Reading. He's a sheep farmer. That's his proper job. He really does struggle when it comes to the beginning of the season, looking after his farm and all the rest of it, but he doesn't have to worry too much about that here as he leads Dean Barker. As for Dino, it'll be mixed emotions if it stays like this. Always good to do well in the British final, always disappointed to go out, but to get the reserve position is perhaps a little bit of mixed fortunes. The run-off to decide the 1992 British champion between Martin Dugard, 13 points scored. He's in red, and he starts off gate number 3. Gary Havelock, the reigning British champion, 4 starts, 4 wins, then a 3rd place in his last ride. Let's put him onto this position. He has a number 13 on his back. It's been a fairly lucky 13 for Havelock today. He defends his title here, and let's see if he can make it 2 years in a row. And the gate, it's all important to make it up the starter, is Gary Havelock. And Havelock in no mood to let go of this trophy. He's the race leader. Martin Dugard chasing for second. Obviously, for both of these riders that qualified, it's purely pride at stake. They both want to get their hands on the British title. Havelock's had the honour of polishing it for the past 12 months, and as we said before, I think he's fairly reluctant to let that honour go. The Bradford fans are really getting enthusiastic. They're getting behind this rider now. The same goes for the Oxford supporters as well. It's been a British final, as ever, full of shocks and surprises. Some of the big names going out. 1 or 2 riders qualifying that perhaps we didn't all tip to go through, but nonetheless, they deserved a place in that Commonwealth final. As we enter the final lap, Gary Havelock, barring something very strange happening, is going to regain his title that he took here on this very Brandon circuit last year. It was 15 points that time, it's 13 points today, but it's purely academic because Gary Havelock from the Bradford Keyline Dukes is the 1992 British Speedway champion. And he is absolutely delighted about that. So on occasions like this, you wish you could have a microphone underneath these riders' crash helmets just to find out exactly what they say. Havelock is absolutely delighted. He came here to do a job today. He looked very, very keen, very dangerous at World Championship competition. Could this be the year that he makes it all the way through to the individual final itself? Oh, shades of riders of years gone by. That was one of Ollie Olsen's famous tricks, to lift both hands up there. And the celebration starts here, and no doubt will go on into the small hours.
And of course, the celebration bumps for him. Obviously had a fair journey today, but it's well injury with and to get 4 of the 5 riders through to the next stage.
Well, that's very good going by any standards. The final scoreboard then, Gary Havelock and Martin Dugard jointly on 13 with Havelock the winner. Andy Smith 3rd, Paul Thorpe 4th, joint 4th Kelvin Tatum, Chris Louis and Marvin Cox. They finish up joint 6, Simon Wigg, Mark Lorham and David Mullet, the other qualifiers, with Dean Barker through as meeting reserve. So they're the riders who'll go home happy tonight. Disappointment for the other riders who didn't make it through. Jeremy Doncaster, Sean Wilson, Graham Jones, Joe Screen and Alan Rossiter. But that's it from the British final of the World Speedway Championship. I'm Mike Bennett. Thanks for joining us. Join us again for more Speedway.